Aloha and welcome to the Two-Wheel Revolution here on ThinkTechHawaii.com. I'm your host, Peter Rosegg. This is a show where we talk about all kinds of personal or micromobility, bikes, e-bikes, e-scooters, e-skateboards, and we'll eventually get to wheelchairs when the time is right. Also, we talk about walking, and we have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about bicycling on Maui, which is a going concern, and there's some really nice developments there, so stick with us. Aloha and welcome back. I'm Peter Rosegg, the host of the Two-Wheel Revolution, and I'm fortunate to introduce my guest. He's Lee Chamberlain. He's with the Maui Bicycling League. We've talked to the Hawaii Bicycling League a lot, but the Maui Bicycling League is going and doing well, and he is the advocacy chair, which means he gets to go fight for the good improvements and things that are needed there. So, Lee, welcome to the Two-Wheel Revolution.
Thank you, Peter. It's an honor to be with you today. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Tell us just briefly a little bit about yourself, what you did before you got to this point in your life.
Okay, Peter. Previously, I actually spent most of my career in the government one way or the other, and either military or with the Department of Justice. I was in the military for 20 years and with part-time and full-time reserve duties. And I retired from the military as a Army officer, helicopter pilot.
Wow.
I also worked for the Department of Justice, the Drug Enforcement Administration for 20-some years, and spent a lot of time flying airplanes and helicopters and support of operations on the mainland of the United States, as well as South America, Central America. And following that, I went to work for Blackwater for a short period of time. And then that was in Iraq. And then I got involved in ISR, which is Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance, which is another company that I worked for that involved flying an airplane over places like Iraq and so on and so forth.
Wow. So you've gone from airplanes and helicopters to bicycles. That's progress, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually, leading that, after that, actually, the career change came to me, and the bicycling came to me after doing adventure motorcycle riding, which is
all right.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a very interesting transition. That's terrific. So, and how long have you been living on Maui? Or
we built a house here in 2004, and so we've been living here on and off for all those years with all my international travels and so on and so forth. And then we had some ownership of properties on the mainland as well. But we've been living full time here since 2014.
Great, terrific. So, I haven't bicycled on Maui in about 40 years. 40 or so years ago, I did one of those downhills from Honoapi'ilani down to Paia. And, I joked at the time that my brakes were like Laverne and Shirley. They were squealing all the time. But that's my entire experience of bicycling on Maui. So how's the bicycling community on Maui doing now?
Well, I think we're doing some progress here. We have a new administration now, and so there's kind of a transition period right now from one administration to the other. Mm-hmm. And the plans that are in place and the programs and so on and so forth, there's kind of a learning curve that has to go on with the new administration. Of
course.
But, dating back to back in 92, Mayor Lingle instituted a resolution 92-04 that basically adopted the idea of alternative transportation. We ought to get less dependency on the automobile and actually go ahead and start looking at alternative transportation. And she, in the resolution that she did, 92-04, she specifies that bicycles are the perfect alternative transportation for trips 5 miles or less. So
that's great. I got to tell you, I used to work for Hawaiian Electric Company, and when Governor Lingle was governor, she was one of the earliest advocates also for electric vehicles. She brought in electric vehicle manufacturers and was looking to, make Hawaii more of a hub for that. So her environmental credentials are, especially in the transportation area, are very strong.
Much to be admired with that lady. Absolutely. Yes, yeah. I agree 100%. Everything she was doing was very progressive. And you're still working on some of those ideas that she
yeah, right. She was our brief Republican interlude, and I think many of us missed her during some of the period that followed. But we're not here to talk about that part of politics. So is there a big bicycling community on Maui? Is there are there a lot of people on the road? Not too many? What's your feeling for that?
Well, it definitely has increased. Okay. The COVID period really changed a lot relative to bicycles and their whole concept of acceptance. I think with the minimization of the traffic here, a lot more people got involved in bicycling. There was a huge purchase spurt that occurred during that period. I don't know what it was driven by, whether it was the free time because people had less dependence on going to the job and spending all the time there. Maybe they had more time off. But anyway, bottom line is I owned Ride Smart Maui at the time, and my increase in sales went up 400% over that period of time. So there was a huge jump in just my business associated with bicycling right there. And of course, I'm specific to electric bikes because I feel that there's more opportunity for people to go ahead and use that conveyance in regards to their needs as far as maybe taking their kid to school, on a cargo bike. It can be easily done. I had a number of mothers that purchased cargo bikes because they didn't want to go and wait in line in the car traffic, waiting to drop their kid off at school and vice versa. So they could just zip up past all those other cars, drop their kids off and come back and go on to picking up their groceries or whatever, so.
New definition of cargo. Here's my cargo. There are 2 kids. That's terrific. I think on Maui, especially, pretty quickly when you get away from the coast, you get into some pretty hilly areas and mountainous areas. So I would think an electric bike would really be a terrific boon on Maui.
Absolutely, and it certainly has. I mean, I went out riding yesterday. As a matter of fact, I climbed 1,400 feet in 5 miles on my electric bike, and just completely enjoyed the whole experience. It was I can almost climb at the same rate I can come down the hill, which is a
pretty fast
for a mountain biker, right? So it's a fun experience going up and a fun experience coming down, on that single track.
Just for the record, what kind of electric bike do you have?
I've got a couple of electric bikes, but the one I was riding that particular day was a Bulls mountain bike. Okay, it's called the Eagle Adventure. It's really a quality bike. So,
is that something you sold? I imagine something you sold when you were in the business.
I was a Bulls salesperson, representative, and I really believe that it's a German manufactured bike, so it's got a lot of quality associated.
Built in. Oh, that's great. And what about visitors? Are there opportunities? Are there ways? Forgetting about the downhills because that's kind of specialized. But are there ways for visitors who want to get into bicycling to do that?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. So again, my previous company, Ride Smart Maui, what we focused primarily on was not just sales, but also rentals. That was one of my whole purposes for starting Ride Smart Maui is to give people alternatives to getting around Maui. What I found is that I can have a lot better experience riding the bicycle versus trying to get somewhere in a car find a place to park, and lugging all my stuff from the car all the way down to the beach and so on and so forth. I can, with a cargo bike, for example, I can lug all my stuff right to the beach, and don't have to carry everything back and forth, just for example, And then, of course, the whole experience of being outside, with that serenity and the beauty that Maui offers, is really great.
Yeah, I do a lot of, I've done a lot of bicycle touring, mostly in Europe, some in this country, and there's nothing like it for, being in the place where you are and really being there, not being contained in a big metal hunk of fumes and noise. So you mentioned you sold your bike company. Is that still in operation though?
Absolutely, yeah, still doing well. I went down there yesterday, as a matter of fact, to check in on, see what's going on.
All right.
All the bikes were out yesterday, except for two, and
that's impressive.
they have quite a number of bikes that are available for people to rent there. So.
All right, let's go talk a little bit about the West Maui Greenway. What it is and where it's going. We've got a map we can put up, and you can talk to us about what's the plan and what's the status.
Okay, well, the plan actually originated back in 1974 with the Hawaii Bike Plan. Okay, so in 1974, the Hawaii Bike Plan was created that covered all of Hawaii and laid out all the different routes and so on and so forth for bicycle pedestrian pathways. On the west side specifically, there was something called the West Maui Greenway, which was a 26-mile path that went from Lapua Point to the Pali. That was to follow the Cane Hall Road that parallels the Honoapi'ilani Highway. And it was the old road that was utilized for heavy industrial trucks to move the pineapple as well as the sugar cane from the fields. And it's basically been not utilized, it's unutilized, it just sits parallel to the highway. Uh-huh. And in the Hawaii Bike Plan, that particular route was designated as a priority project, was supposed to be done in 10 years. And unfortunately, we haven't got there yet, okay?
Yeah. What a shock that things in Hawaii take forever, if they ever happen. Sometimes we've got great plans and we don't get where we need to go. So what's the status of this now? I mean, I know people are riding it. I've seen pictures of and there's a great video on your West Maui Greenway.org website of people riding along there. So it is in use, right?
Well, yes and no. Okay. I mean, okay. I've been utilizing it for years, and I've done a lot of basically education associated with what it is. I have brought all the members of the administration from Mayor Arakawa over, and including Mayor Arakawa, we've ridden the portion of the West Maui Greenway from Olawalo to Lahaina, and I had actually at one particular point, Mayor Arakawa put in $1.5 million to go ahead and plan and implement a section of the West Maui Greenway from Lahaina to Olawalo. However, that didn't really progress into a actual project, and so what ended up happening is that I just ridden it a lot, and I know it very, very well. And we are fortunate in our last MPO, which we had, a Metro Planning Organization leader. She went ahead and was able to go ahead and move the West Maui Greenway forward and actually get a final plan for the West Maui Greenway. So we now have a final plan, which was finished in September of last year. And so there are elements in the West Maui Greenway plan to follow. It's called the next steps. And currently we have a STIP, which is a State Transportation Improvement Program. We have money in there for PE2 as well as construction. And that is coming from the Surface Transportation Block Grant, which requires a 20% match from the county. And consequently, as I mentioned earlier, we are in administrative change right now. So there's a period of need for me to go ahead and continue to educate the current administration relative to what a surface transportation block grant is versus a transportation alternative program and all these different programs that are out there.
So what does the plan envision? If we could magically, I sometimes say if we had a blank check, we could magically have it finished tomorrow, what would it be like? Would it be paved? Would it be, what would how wide would it be? What would it be like if it were actually completed or near completed? What would it be?
Well, it would be a 12-foot wide improved surface path with a 2-foot buffer as specified in the tip. It's specified in the tip that the total project cost is $13 million. Okay. 2024, they're supposed to go ahead and do the planning and engineering for what they call PE2. And then 2026 is supposed to be the construction. So in regards to the plan, if it was done in entirety, potentially $13 million is what the projected cost is. And construction could occur potentially in 2026. Right now, the plan specifies that there's going to be segments associated with it. And again, I would encourage everybody to go to westmauigreenway.org and look at the plan itself. Sure. And then you can go to pages.
This is supposed to be what they call a multi-use, right? I mean, it's not just a bike path.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So that's if you look at the West Maui Greenway final plan, it goes through all the detail associated with the construction of it and all the progressive steps. So there's different segments that are prioritized as far as what they recommend in regards to starting construction and implementation. And but it's a multi-use path specific to non-motorized vehicles. Okay.
But e-bikes are not motorized vehicles, right?
That's correct. They really aren't. Because under federal law, if they're 20 miles or less, and in regards to speed and 750 watts or less, then they're considered bicycles.
Right.
Okay, so they are not motorized or ICE vehicles I'm talking about, internal combustion engine vehicles.
So would it be paved or would it be loose gravel, hard pack, or some combination of that at different stages? What would riding on it be like?
Yeah, well, currently, again, it's already there, right? In different stages. So there is some portions that have pavement on it right now, and some parts that are just grass. But it already is there. The path is there. So it's not something new. You don't have to reconstruct it. But it is a 12-foot wide path that is going to have 2-foot buffers for people that want to walk or maybe ride their horses or whatever the case. They don't have to ride on the improved surface.
Got it.
Improved surface. There's lots of different variants in regards to improved surface. So probably you'll have a permeable surface, not necessarily an asphalt surface, but that has to be part of the design plan, which is not been complete yet. There's lots of alternatives for that, and that has to be discussed that goes into the environmental assessment, right? Sure. So what's best for the environment?
And part of it runs alongside the cane train that a lot of people are familiar with. Is that right?
Well, yeah. So the old sugarcane train tracks that are remaining run from Kaanapali to Lahaina. And that was an option relative to its implementation. But the Cane Hall Road actually parallels the sugarcane train tracks to the canyon there at Kaanapali where the trestle is. And then the sugarcane train tracks deviate from the Cane Hall Road at the trestle. Okay, so that's a different path. It's beautiful. It's certainly doable. And again, the path, the railroad tracks, converting that into a bike path makes total sense.
Is that Cane Hall train kind of a tourist attraction? Is that still in operation?
No, it's not. It ceased operation several years ago in its totality because the trestle was judged by engineers to need to be replaced or repaired, okay, which ended up being a very expensive proposition for the owners. And so consequently, the whole train thing has stopped for quite some time. There was a short period when at Christmas time, they started the train up and they ride it, they had people an opportunity to ride it for about a quarter of a mile and then back up. That's as far as they went for it. But that's basically ceased since then. That was last year, I think, his last training ride.
That's too bad. That was always a kind of a sweet little, especially if you had kids, that was a sweet little diversion. Not even to ride the train these days. So I assume, again, because it's Cane Hall Roads and it's fairly near the coast, most of the route is flat that you're talking about. That is would be this 25, 26 mile route. It's mostly flat, or are we looking at hills, or what's that like?
It's mostly flat coming into Kaanapali. At Kaanapali, you're going to start getting some rise that goes up into the Kapalua area, but most part, it's very doable, especially on an electric bike if you wanted to do that. But people ride on their regular bikes around the whole entire North Loop regularly, which is 60 miles, which has some serious climbing and some serious wind. So there's some big.
They go all the way around and come back down toward Kahului. Is that what?
Yeah. That's called the 60-mile North Loop. It's a very popular ride. And of course, if you may recall being here on Maui in the past, I don't know how many years you said, it was a long time ago, I think. But anyway, bottom line is the road that goes around the North Loop, okay, changes into a single lane road. So there is a big challenge for people driving a car around that for the most part, because there's some serious cliffs on the side of that road, right?
You don't want to take your eye off that road, do you?
Yeah, well, they always say if you're going to go from this side west and go around, because everybody coming in the opposite direction has to be faced on the outside of that road. And then they're the ones that are challenged not driving off the road and falling off the cliff. A bicycle, of course, is a great experience, and it's
you can go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about all the government things that need to happen. What can I do? What can Joe Maui do? Somebody that really wants to see this move forward. How can we help? How can we? You're the advocacy chair, and I'm sure you're talking to the government all the time. But for a moment, think about average folks that want to see this happen, because it would be lovely to have that, rideable for that whole distance and beyond. What can I do?
Well, again, I think the best thing that we can do at this particular point is to go ahead and put more pressure and encourage the administration to set this a little bit more a high priority, especially critical right now, because the fact is that this is budget time for 2024.
Okay.
The Surface Transportation Block Grant has to have a 20% match, or that money is going to go away. So the money that's in there right now that has been fiscally constrained, we don't want to lose that. But it could be potentially overlooked, forgotten, ignored.
So do we write a letter to the mayor? Do we write a letter to city council members? Give us some practical things that we can do to help you move this, make sure it doesn't get forgotten.
Yes. Of course, the best thing to do is potentially try to email Mayor Bisson. He does, if you go to Maui County and look for Mayor Bisson's email, there is a email for him under Mayor Bisson. Okay. And our council member, Tamara, Halton is also another person that you can go ahead and CC as well. So I
What
think
about
that
the state? Does it help to talk to the state legislators for Maui, or are they kind of out of this picture?
well, again, all this money is coming from the federal government. It goes to the state, okay, and then it's dealt out to the counties. So the state legislators are certainly important. McKelvey, Senator McKelvey, and then Ellie Cochran, our representative, would be two other members that you can go ahead and include in this. Both of them are very, very familiar with the West Maui Greenway. They've both been on my bike rides together with me.
Okay.
So, and they both have advocated or in support of the West Maui Greenway as far as implementation.
Right. Well, we're getting close to the end here, and this has been really terrific for me. I've been to Maui often, but not for a while, and I had no idea. And I think a lot of people over here probably don't have very much information about that. So I really encourage everybody to go to westmauigreenway.org. There's a lot of information, a terrific video of a trip that a bunch of you folks took, and you really get a sense of the beauty and the potential there for just a marvelous ride that visitors and residents could enjoy. And we're going to follow, as things go forward. We'll talk to you again and talk to other folks here at the Maui Bicycle League, because I think there's a lot we can do from Oahu to help out. And I really appreciate your time, Lee, and you've been great. And I really, thank you for your work. You're just doing a lot of advocacy and a lot of work and effort, and you clearly love it, and that's great. So thank you so much.
Well, likewise, Peter, I really appreciate the opportunity to share this experience with you. So
thank you. And I want to take one more minute here, since we're talking about governments and federal money and so forth. There are two bills in Congress now, and one of them would support improvements for bicycling and walking, and one of them would be a federal rebate for electric bikes. And both of those are in Congress now. If you go to peopleforbikes.org, very easy to remember, and scroll down a bit, you'll see information on both of these. And just like the West Maui Greenway, we need to tell our representatives and our people in Congress, our own and those in other places, that we really want to see the federal government come up with this kind of support. The e-bike rebate got dropped out of the Inflation Reduction Act, but there's still time for it, and it's been resubmitted. So I think, unfortunately, we'd all love to be riding, but sometimes you have to sit at your computer and talk to your government and tell them what you need to do, what they need to do. So I really encourage you to look at that. Look at the westmauigreenway.org. There's a lot of potential here, and Lee and the other folks on the Maui Bicycling League and the West Maui Greenway organization group are, really taking the lead, and we thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
Peter, if you don't mind me interrupting, I just want to say that on February 28th, they did implement the rebate program for the electric bikes. Okay.
Yeah, the state has a rebate program, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's a $500 rebate that people can get up to 20% of whatever the cost of their bike is. If they meet certain requirements. So
we've had Chris Lee on, the senator from Oahu, who sponsored that, and we're going to be looking at it again, because we understand, it's now in operation, and more people need to know about it. So I thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah. It's been a great discussion, Lee, and I really appreciate your time. I guarantee you I'm going to come back and want to talk to you about it again.
Okay.
We want to see how it's going. And we'll try to catch you when you're not out on that electric bike scooting around the island. So thank you very much. Thank you to both of my regular viewers who have been with us here, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Aloha.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.